The site has to respond to quite a patchwork of urban context. We've got the railway lines behind us, Churchill Gardens on one side, and then obviously the 19th century terraces developed by Cubitt in the early 19th century on the other.
We had the original estate, which had blocks A to Z in it. One of our residents phoned us in the 1990s and said, "I can put my finger in my wall, is that right?" And we immediately realised that blocks X and Z were in trouble. Instantly, obviously moved them out, and then that site became an issue for us. So we did 10 years of consultation with residents. For one reason and another, it wasn't very successful. Then we just thought we'd try a new approach. Very straightforward, very straight talking, and also making sure that our residents got something out of this new development.
Peabody Housing Association has done a fantastic job, and they have thought about the needs of families, even the playground, which can be sometimes noisy, but it is nice to see children playing.
Quite an important part of the landscaping strategy was to try and tidy the bins up so that they were less dominating, and add planting and new paving throughout.
So a third of the residents in this new building are actually from our existing Victorian estate. They had a 3-bedroom flat, they downsized to a 2, and they've now got balconies, lifts and modern facilities.
We moved in here in 1973, so it's a long time ago.
When these came, I thought, well, that's right, I'm going to have one of them, and I love it.
The balcony was what fixed it for me. Because even if I can't go out, I can sit outside, whereas before I had no view at all.
I like the open plan. I like that you can be in the kitchen and still see what's going on in the dining room.
But I like all the space and the kitchen and the window in the kitchen.
I think that the way a property is configured can impact greatly on how well you get on together as a family. I find that we're sitting together more now, which is something we didn't seem to do a lot where I was before.
We've got 3 blocks, each with their own core. We've actually linked 2 of the blocks together with decks. It allows us to get dual aspect flats. It also gives amenity for the residents with balconies off those decks, and it allows us to give access to 2 lifts for certain of our more vulnerable residents as well.
The 37 stairs in the old place was just getting too much. Not having those stairs means I can go out more often.
I think we had a very fragmented southern end to this estate, and I think what Howard Tompkins have achieved is a great L-shaped building, encloses a new space, makes sense of the avenue, closes it off while still allowing access through, and a lot more greenery, which is very important to our residents.
I'm still pinching myself thinking, is this really mine? And I just love it.
The drawing illustrates the very centre of the city of Leeds. It shows an idea that from that centre radiates out the wider city centre, the wider city as a whole, and is indicated by propeller blades or petals as a way of understanding a very complex organism. The project that we're standing in at Granary Wharf is a key link between the very centre of the city and the wider city to the southwest.
So the buildings comprise of 2 residential buildings, a large-scale hotel, bars, cafes and restaurants at ground floor, all which open out onto a large expanse of public realm comprising of soft and waterside spaces.
We love the area, and we thought that the view here for a restaurant would be astonishing. And And I must admit, I think we were right.
It is absolutely ideal. Obviously, having so much residential space around us means that our food and beverage spaces are used extensively.
Since I've moved in, new restaurants and things have popped up, and you know, more and more people are kind of being attracted to this area, more people are finding out about it.
It's been great for Leeds because obviously it's somewhere for everybody to come. So, you know, you have people in the sunshine sat eating lunch, you have the runners, the dog walkers, people walking prams, you know, it's a great place for the whole of Leeds to use.
The public realm used materials of a very strong nature, granite sets, stone paving, and continued that industrial tradition of strong, sound materials, and that has not been compromised.
There's no real need to, if you like, discount the lower floors because they're seen as less attractive. In some ways, the lower floors in our schemes allow a greater interaction with the actual place that we've created.
Fell in love with it straight away. Thought it was a nice high spec, great view of the river, really like busy communal area.
I really like the size of the flat. I like the layout of the flat. I like that it was slightly different because of obviously the shape of the building.
Well, the radial floor plan is fantastic because it allows us to have every apartment that opens up to the external wall, which allows amazing views and fantastic daylight to penetrate the building.
When we talked to real purchasers, we wanted a space for people to actually get together with their neighbours and get to know them.
We could have obviously made a decision to put one big penthouse apartment with a big roof terrace, but instead we decided to put a roof terrace up there for everybody to use.
There's some nice hammocks and seating up there, and obviously you get amazing view of kind of all of Leeds, so it'd be a nice place to have a little get together.
The journey of the project was extremely challenging. The scale of the buildings is large, the apparent footprint is small, and I think where we're pleased, there's a quiet dynamic here which makes it seem to be a good place to move around in and yet not be fully overwhelmed by the scale.
In effect, a more thoughtful, well-designed scheme creates longer-term value, and also there's a legacy there that helps the company's reputation to go on and do other sites.
It's really done to a high spec. It's larger than anything I've seen for the money. I don't really know what more people would want sort of in a flat in a city, for a city centre living, to be honest. So this just ticked all the boxes.
The master plan begins with the spaces between buildings. There are a sequence of new pedestrian-friendly streets and 2 new parks, the main one of which rises up at the eastern end to connect to Bromley by Bow Station. There are 3 urban blocks designed by 3 architects. They're all working to an urban pattern which brings both coherence and diversity.
We're really pleased to have been part of this development, and we're really pleased with its outcome.
It provides a great range of accommodation for our residents, including 30% family accommodation, which is much needed in the area.
The community in Bromley by Bow is incredibly diverse. We have different people from different cultural backgrounds.
It's the first scheme where we had a public consultation where we involved all the local residents, the councillors. It's a scheme which I think reflects a lot of hard work from both sides of the fence.
Through the consultation, the local residents and local councillors have requested that we need more family-sized housing. Barratt's have accommodated that, which will help to reduce the overcrowding into hamlets.
One of our responses to this was developing a whole series of quite interesting unit typologies throughout the building. A good example of this is the interlocking 3-bed duplex type that sits at the lower part of the building. It's allowed us to maximise the amount of front doors to the streets while putting all the private amenity space as part of the collective courtyard at the heart of the block.
I was invited in 2007 to come up with a concept proposal for an art piece for the site that came out of the history of the site. I found 350 objects in the rubble, And these are examples, and they've been incorporated into the wall. And they span history, so this is probably 1868, and this is 2007, say. The architects of Block B asked me to find a design for the balconies and the external doors, and a Victorian drain cover is the design that they've used. It was one of the objects I found in the rubble.
It's taken the periodic feature of the previous site, which is very important to us as retaining the heritage.
I think the thing that we're particularly pleased about is the quality of the public, the private and the communal amenity space, how that knits together.
We like the fact that, you know, for a 3-bedroom place, it actually feels like a house rather than just a big flat. The huge terrace we've got here, you know, we get so much daylight. Sun rises over there, sets behind us, so we've got light all day round. Lots of fresh air, lots of greenery as well, which is what we wanted, not a concrete jungle.
Not having a garden, I wanted some kind of slightly bigger space for him to play in.
The variety and generosity of the outside amenity space, the whole series of terraces, winter gardens and balconies, I think make this scheme quite unique and a real success.
I do use my balcony. When the weather's nice, me and my son like to sit out and have a little game out on the balcony.
Barrett's have done an incredibly good job. Just looking at the design, it's fabulous. I have yet to see a design such as this in Tower Hamlets or anywhere else.
It's perfect, really.
I think we'll look back in 10 years' time and think this was a great development. I'm very proud to be a part of it.
I would love to live here. Are you offering?